Thank you. I will call the Public Utilities Commission for Tuesday, November 12th, 2024 to order. Roll call, please.
Okay. Joyce Hall,
Here?
Tom Bystricky,
Here.
Pat Nolan, Scott Snyder,
Here.
Susie Corum.
He's just coming in now.
Okay.
Hey there.
Perfect timing, Susie.
Okay, perfect. Susie's here and Dave Preisel.
Here.
And then also, if I didn't call your name, could you please state your first and last name?
Tyler Westfield with Studio EA.
Brian Blake with Studio EA.
Eric Kivisto with Market and Johnson.
Jeremy Drake with Market and Johnson.
Yeah, I think that should be everybody then. So just so we have it for the record when they make the notes or make the minutes. So thanks everybody. Okay.
All right. Item number 2, approval of the October 8th meeting minutes.
I'll move approval.
Thank
I'll
you,
second.
Thank you, Thomas. Any corrections or any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. New business 3.1, action on updated drawings and pricing on utility storage project.
Okay, so in your packet, we've got numerous representatives here from Market and Johnson and from EA to just kind of walk us through where we're at on this project. Some of the drawings you'll see today. You'll also see an updated cost estimates on that. Now, again, these are just estimates. So in the one, I guess I'll just kind of give a quick overview. I'm going to share my screen here real quick. And just so we can, can everybody see that now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So, we had talked about going with this proposed one-story addition. Okay. And originally we were actually talking about leaving that. If you look back over here on the right-hand side, that upper right corner is where that old lean-to storage, cold storage building is. We have decided to pull that out. We're actually going to try to heat that, with insulation, heat it, run gas back there, the whole 9 yards. The way it's kind of laid out is it's more in the way and it's going to be more expensive than to just remove it. We actually don't need it at this point. It's holding basically that cold storage that was up in here. Well, it's still there, but the one that's up in there, it held barricades. It's home for a couple generators. It's just kind of miscellaneous stuff that's in there now. Cones, different things like that are in there now that don't require heat. But basically, after looking at the whole entire site with what we're proposing for this addition, grading wasn't going to work. And if any of you have been to the facility here, in this back area, it doesn't look like this now. It's a big, huge, there's cattails. It's just a big, gigantic mess back here. So part of the project also includes, stormwater, where we're going to be cleaning that up back there. And with cleaning that up, we kind of need that room back there for water storage, for drainage, for runoff, different things like that. So we are proposing just to take that building down and just have it removed, get it out of our way. So we will be kind of just proposing that as part of this project now. So, with that, I will stop my share now, and I will turn this over. I don't know who wants to start first. If Eric, you want to start, or whoever.
I can start. I'll just.
Yeah, go ahead, Tyler.
Yeah, I'll start. I'll just walk through the site plan there kind of more holistically, and then Eric can take it from there with the pricing.
I should have gave you the opportunity to share, I believe.
Okay, I think I can do that. Let me try here. There's everyone seeing my screen now.
Yes, I am.
Same image we were on before. So like Kip was saying, we've redesigned kind of from the concept scheme, but the building is in the same spot. So we took that kind of middle scheme that we looked at before. And after we looked at grading and we looked at what the site really needed on it, Kip determined that, it was okay to get rid of the cold storage building. Like he said, it was more in the way than not. It was going to be right outside of this existing door. Grades weren't going to work very good because we really want this new building addition to tie into the existing building at same grade, which means from the front of the site to the back of the site, we need a little bit of room to bring the grade up and then get drainage to work. So
And if
in this new scheme,
Tyler, just
ahead.
real quick, just so they understand too, if we would have left that cold storage in there, we would have had to raise this addition up, and we would have had a step going from the existing building up into the new proposed, and I didn't want steps. We would have had to put a ramp in, the whole 9 yards. So it's basically, if we remove that storage, that cold storage shed, we can drop that building back down to an acceptable grade to where we're not going to see any steps going, from building to building, from existing to new. So.
Yep, that's right. So we're gonna rework the parking lot. This heavy dashed line we have right here is really the only part of the site that's going to stay the same now. Otherwise, outside of that, the other 3/4 of the property, we're going to rework a little bit. So coming off of Hagen, we're going to open up the drive lane a little bit, do an expanded curb cut. We're going to rework the parking lot. We're going to have doors into this building, so the access out of that will be right where the current fence and gate are now. And then we'll have drive through, about 18 parking stalls, plus a bunch of additional space for both storage and additional parking for the jet truck, all the things that Kip's looking for, and some in this addition building. And then we're going to give a bunch of green space back to the site. So we currently have paving that goes kind of all the way, this dashed line over here, all the way to the property line. The fence kind of follows that and then goes into this weird wetland area that's currently not draining properly. The fence goes up to the north property line. So we're going to reclaim a bunch of that, get a little more green space on the property, do some new landscaping, and deal with the stormwater in a better way than it's currently being handled. We'll do a new gate on the south side here, a new patio, and kind of pergola space next to the break room, so that'll serve the existing building, break room, and offices. We're going to get the drive-through back in here. Currently, it doesn't go through anymore because there is a fence and gate there. So we're going to open that back up and move the gate to this line and then fence down and around. So we're going to redo the fence, do some new decorative fencing that looks a little nicer, and get your parking lot working the way it is currently designed, but get it back to functioning the right way, and then get a new gate and access in and out of the property. There's going to be a trash enclosure and generator pad going where the cold storage building is now. That'll serve the entire building. And then we have a proposal to do solar panels on top of this new building that will serve both buildings in the future, and some potential electric vehicle charging if the department determines they want to go that route with future vehicles. Any questions on kind of the newest layout?
Yeah, there's Scott. I have a couple of questions.
Yeah.
That northwest door entrance right there. Yep. That door right there, coming off of Hagen. Kip, I forgot. I think last time we talked about the largest trucks. Is that a truck and a trailer? Is that kind of a tight radius to get lined up to go in there? Or the larger trucks will come in that southwest door opening versus that northwest door opening? I'm just looking at that.
Yeah, that north door opening will just be pickup trucks. The
Okay.
south door opening where you can drive straight in, that's what's planned for the jet truck. You know, if we're pulling any generators, they can get in right there and just have a straight drive through.
Okay.
And then exit all the entrance and the exits now will be on the south end of the property where that new
Okay.
gate's gonna go.
And then second question, right about where the word B is on existing building. There was an existing generator right about there in that building.
Yep.
Is that going to be replaced then? So the newer one then takes care of everything, or will the newer one be in addition to that one?
No, the newer one will take care of everything, because if you remember or not, Scott, that current generator it runs outlets, and that's pretty much the extent of it. It doesn't run any of our heating and air conditioning units, anything like that. It's not big enough to do it. So basically that generator, I mean, I haven't looked at it yet, but if we can use it at a different facility or something like that,
Sure.
we will. But no, the new generator will be a generator that can handle the entire facility.
Okay.
HVAC, heating, doors, lights, everything. Yes.
All right. Thanks. That's a couple questions I had. Thank you.
Does anybody else have any questions on just the layout?
Where's all the
Otherwise,
stuff from the cold storage building end up? Where's all your,
right now we'll move it up to when the project gets going. We'll move everything up to 8th Street. We've got cold storage up at 8th Street. So we'll move everything up there, and then whatever needs to come back once it's completed, we'll just bring it back at that point. So we have room at 8th Street that we can stack some of that stuff in there. We won't get it all in there, but we've got, I mean, other facilities garages that we can stuff in during construction.
but then that's going to be kept in your parking spots with the pass through, like where you were talking about where the jetted truck is going to go, or into the parking stall?
Yeah, okay, so yeah,
Or
there you
Yeah,
go.
so I'll flip to this page. So if we look at kind of the floor plan, how this is laying out, there's a column line here dividing this kind of into a 2/3, 1/3. So the north 2/3 is all the parking stalls. That's going to serve all of the pickup trucks and some. Then the south side of that is going to be space for jet truck parking, the wash bay, a little mechanical sprinkler room, restroom, access to and from the existing building, and then really this whole south portion of that up against the adjoining wall with the other facility is going to be some additional space for storage. So
That's
I
where
guess
we
at
would,
this point,
yeah, that's where we would anticipate putting our pallet racking that we have. All right, any other questions on that? Otherwise, we can move on to Eric.
all right, I will stop sharing.
All right, guys, can you see my screen okay?
Yep.
See the estimate? Okay, again, guys, Eric Kivisto, Market and Johnson. I'm joined here with by Jeremy Drake. Starting out, I'm just going to go through the formatting of this updated budget. There's a lot of numbers here just so everyone's on the same page about what we're looking at. So starting up on top, we got two columns, right? Conceptual budget E. The numbers that are represented in that left column where my mouse is going down, that's the budget numbers that were the conceptual budget. Obviously, we reviewed budget options C, E, and D. We were directed to explore budget option E. Moving forward, schematic design drawing. So what Tyler just reviewed with the team, that is what these numbers are based on. So going through here relatively quickly, if there's questions on specific breakdown items of all these different work categories or components, let me know. But comparing from where we were at conceptual budget to the current budget with the new design, updated design, we go down the cost of the work itself, the subtotals, you can see we're trending slightly lower from the original conceptual budget. Moving down, talking about contingencies. So at this point in the game, we call it schematic design. We still got a lot of details to look into. We'll go through another budgeting operation. We call it design development, and then into a final construction drawing. So with that, we always carry an escalation contingency from now to when the final project bids out and proceeds is about 6-7 months away, just covering any inflations in material, things of that nature. Another line item, estimating contingency at 6%. Again, that's held to cover any scope creep or as we go into design development, final construction drawings, anything that we find as we dig into more detailed calculations, soils, some of that stuff will start being understood with borings, things of that nature. So that's there to help cover any of those unforeseens as we get into the next stages. And then construction contingency, which will be held until we start the construction process, and that'll be held through the project to cover any things that come up during construction. Moving down, construction management fee, that's spelled out there. Professional design services, so the engineering and the architectural services to get through the process. We've got some geotechnical engineering, like I had mentioned. We'll get boring going here to that site in the next few months to understand what the soils are under that building. Moving down, owner items. So these are items that are included in the project total right here. So things that as owners you would get, guys, at this point it's covered that you'd buy outside of the construction project. So pressure washing equipment, anything that would be covered in that wash bay. Car lift and vehicle hoist. So I think in the drawings Tyler showed, we didn't show what was planned in that existing vehicle storage area, but right now there is going to be a smaller car lift, I believe, that'll be used for some minor mechanical repairs. So we're carrying costs for that. Building security infrastructure upgrades. So again, I want to state that anything in regards to the new building, the new fence, the new gate, those costs are covered up above in the construction portion. But this would be to upgrade anything in regards to the existing facility in that building. And then at this point, owner costs, so we call it FF&E, so furniture, fixtures, and equipment, anything that would be needed in that the new build, whether that's more pallet racking, different components, and we're working on developing a final list of what those items could entail. Which brings us down to the project alternates. Again, project total as it sits right now, and then project total with all these alternates, things that we've been entertaining. A lot of these items, I think, Kip, you can speak to it, are probably needed for the current facility, but re-roofing the existing building. So as we do the new build, taking out the existing roof and replacing it. When we're doing the new process or the build, replacing all of the existing HVAC equipment that serves the existing space. Updating the new fire panel of the existing building. So the new addition and the existing building all operate on one consistent system. The ad is right there. Small number, but the existing vehicle storage space requested to do some updated lighting. So that number shows there. Provide new generator backup, like we discussed, a new generator to supply power for every component of the building, both new and existing. So not just outlets, but HVAC equipment, etc. Gate closure updates and repairs during conceptual budgets. We weren't 100% certain what was going to happen with the site. Now that we've identified that the new scheme, the schematic design, you can see that that's zero because we're including those costs up in construction. The next two electric charging locations. So we broke it two separately. If you guys don't want to proceed with actually supplying or putting in full-fledged charging stations, this number would be to run pathways and wire to specific designated locations. But then if we want it, that would be beneficial. So then after the fact, you wouldn't have to come back in 4 or 5 years and rip up the existing asphalt or building to put those rough-ins in. And then moving down electrical service upgrade to supply power to those vehicle charging ports. This would be to essentially put in the chargers themselves. The next, insulate and add heat to the cold storage building. As we discussed in the revised plan, the current plan shows that being removed in its entirety. So that number is 0. And then last but not least, in the last meeting that we were part of, one of the members had asked to explore solar panels to the roof. During the last budget operation, or the conceptual budget, we had a $0 value there. We looked into it, and this is, at this point, the cost to put solar panels on the roof is listed there. If that's something that this commission wants to keep investigating over the next stages, the design development and the construction drawings, that's where we'll try to understand exactly what the payback on those solar panels is and what the cost savings would be. So then jumping down to the bottom, the comparison of where we were at conceptual at that scheme E to the budget as Tyler and team has drawn it currently. And a little skewed being that we have the solar panels now in this budget, but that's where it sits now. I know I ran through that relatively quickly, but I'll open it up to any of you if you got questions or want to explore some of these items in more detail.
So does anybody have any questions on anything? I guess what we're looking for tonight is, are we comfortable with these numbers? Do we want to look at these numbers and see if there's things we can do? Are we comfortable with the alternatives? I guess what we're looking for from the commission tonight would be, to move forward to, do you guys want to keep going with this? I guess that's kind of where we're at. We've got the numbers in front of us. No, these are just estimates. Let's keep that in mind. We were planning on, right around that $5 million mark adding, but that did not include all the alternates in there either, which I believe are important. The roof, we definitely need re-roofing. We've had leaks at this current one. The existing HVAC is, I believe it's original to the building. Fire alarm panel, that's definitely got to be upgraded. Some lighting, we do want a generator here. So there's things in there that I believe are definites. But I guess from the board standpoint, we need to talk about the electrical charging stations and then the solar panels. I don't know if anybody else has anything else that they would wish to discuss or not.
Yep, this is David. I've got quite a few questions. It's been a couple of meetings since I've been on some of these, and one of the biggest questions is I'm going to assume that this is both for water and sewer.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. And then how is this going to be paid?
We would be splitting this 50-50 water and wastewater.
Okay. Are there grants or anything like that we've looked into for solar, for any of the costs that are associated with this draft?
That we haven't, as them guys were just saying, I believe Eric was just saying, the solar that they're giving you, that 345,000, is obviously an estimate on other projects that that they've done or that they've been in contact with. But other than that, they have not dug any further yet into what's our payback on I mean that's a lot of money. $350,000 for solar. We'd like to know when we're gonna how many years before we get paid back. None of that has even been looked into yet, David.
Okay.
So that's all part of kind of where we're at today. We're looking for direction from you guys as to, yeah, we're comfortable with this. Let's keep moving forward. We're not comfortable with this. We need to look at this again, or, any other questions or concerns that anybody might have. So, and if you
Under
had
the
more,
item,
sorry to interrupt you, David, if you had more.
I just had another question, and this one was for Joyce. Joyce, do you remember what we spent on the new fire station?
I think that was either I think that was around 6 million,
Okay,
but I'm not sure, but that's
I thought it was more than that, but
maybe 8.
yeah, I want to say at least that. Yeah. And you
Okay,
got to remember how that was how many years ago too.
yes.
Cost have skyrocketed, as we all know.
The other thing that I was gonna say is that last night, Liz Malanofi brought some information about some grants, grant opportunities for solar energy, so that's something
Okay.
that the
Well,
city
we-
needs to explore.
Maybe Scott can help us with that.
There's lots of programs, I know. Joyce, that's, I have a follow-up unless you still have more questions, Joyce.
No,
On the solar, on that 345, is that a fully integrated system where, or are you gonna keep it isolated where the city generates their own electricity and put it into a battery system to store it? Or use it as they make it, but if they have excess, put it back out into the grid or put it into its own battery bank and keep it on site for the city to only use, or put it back out on the grid? How integrated is that 346,000? And then in that 345,000, does that include the extra infrastructure you need for the weight of that in the roof I-beams or in the roofing structure? Is that in that 345 too, or is that up in the building costs?
Yeah, I'll speak to, well, at this point in the game, Scott, for the solar, like Kip said, it's a very high level budget number. To get more information and have a really good understanding of what the payback is, and to your point, does it go back onto the grid or is it stored in batteries to be utilized here at a later point? If it's something that you as a board want to keep entertaining and keep exploring, those are the questions we'll start investigating and have a better response for you
Okay.
in the coming months. As far as the structure, Tyler, I know structural's involved, pretty beefy structure, but
Yeah, we've already preliminarily got structure to hold up the solar panels planned in the project, so we could lighten the roof if we chose to not go that direction as we dive into it.
And then Kip, to your comment about Excel, I mean, in the 8 states they operated with the different public utility commissions in each state, they've got different solar programs depending upon so for NSP Wisconsin, that jurisdiction, I don't know, I'm just enough removed now, but a call into Brian Elwood or somebody over at Excel.
Yeah, I can always give Brian a shout.
Yeah, that'd be the best place to start there to see what programs would even apply
Right.
for a municipality.
Okay.
Yeah, and there's programs like Focus on Energy that would take a look at the entire building and how efficient our HVAC is, if we're doing solar, if there's electric vehicle charging, all of that. And there's some rebates available there, not just specifically for the solar, but just in general, how efficient of a building are we designing? And so that's something to look into. It's not always a ton of money, but there's some dollars there if we want to explore that option and work with Excel and Focus on Energy for that.
Yeah, I think we definitely will. That's for sure.
And Kip, as far as those conduit and stuff, the electric charging locations, if you rough in for a couple of EVs, whether it be a half-ton pickup EV, whatever, yeah, the cost of the conduit at this point and the construction equipment is all there. So it would never be cheaper to put that infrastructure in.
Right.
As far as pulling in cables and putting in actual charging stations, that can happen on another budget cycle, but it'd be, if you're thinking about any EVs at all, half tons or sedans or whatever you might have, getting the infrastructure in now for a couple of sites going to be far cheaper than tearing up blacktop and putting conduit in later.
Right. Because I'm thinking at this point then maybe Eric or Tyler, they bury that conduit then, right, in the wall. And if we wait, you're gonna have conduit running all over the outside wall too. So
And I was even thinking, Kip, to get to an outs, if employees, even your employees, if they pull up, I mean, I went through this whole thing the last 5-6 years of my career at Excel. employees coming in because they were starting to buy electric vehicles and wanted to charge while they were at site, while they're working, et cetera. So I'm even thinking not just even in the building, but outside of the building in the parking stalls.
Oh, it's a good point.
And
Good
that's
point.
kind of what we had figured, Kip, is getting that stuff outside. We've done a lot of them for Excel Energy and that, other clients and that. So it's definitely the time to do it now, especially when you're talking about, that asphalt all being new. It's not gonna be kind of a cobbled, cut up mess out there of patches. So
Right.
you're gonna have new asphalt for the whole lot. To cut it up 3 years down the road, is gonna be more
Right.
expensive and doesn't make a ton of sense. So.
Employees that can pull up to an outside building wall, if you went back to that overview map, I don't know what kind of parking stalls, but on the north side out that existing northwest door, there's, depending upon where that new building ends up, there's probably room for 3-4 cars there, but those are easy enough to install on the outside of a building, but remote sites out away from the building, that's where you want to get that conduit in now.
Right. All right. Susie, you had something?
Yeah, thank you. I've been trying to jump in here for a while. So that was my question about those electric charging locations. That 34 is for rough and only, meaning just to truly understand it, because it sounds like some have a better understanding of it than others of us do. So you're saying it's going to be at locations that can be future accessed but then you would need more equipment to add to the wiring will be there. Is that what we're saying?
Yes, what I figured there for that, and this is how we've set them up for other clients, is we would pull the conduit underground. We would stub it up. Usually we would pour like a concrete pad there, so they're elevated, so they're not something that's going to get hit by a truck or a car or whatever. And then it's stubbed up. Some clients put bollards in front of them, so it's basically all ready to go to actually set the EV charger on it later and pull the wire to it. So basically anything that would need to have to happen underground to get the asphalt in is what we would propose doing as part of the rough in. And then, I mean, if you wanted to do the EV chargers through this project, you could, or you could add them at any time later and not have to redo anything. So that's how we figured that, if that makes sense.
Okay. The one thing that I would want to see on this is what the cost is to electrically charge, for example, 1 vehicle, 2 vehicle, however many vehicles we're talking about that the city would be potentially charging, what that cost of the actual charge is per year, the actual electricity to charge it per year. I would love to see what that looks like. And for the different size vehicles, I imagine it's going to be a different amount, so that we can see what the actual cost of that electricity is, not just the cost of installing those, but the actual electricity cost. And then if indeed you are considering putting in chargers for employees, is that just on the city then? Are we charging employee cars on the dime of the city? And
you can do them both ways. You can meter it, sub-meter it, and use it just like you pull up to a fuel pump, and the employee can swipe their own credit card and pay for the.
Yeah, that's my question.
Yeah, I think it. Oh, sorry,
sure.
Susie, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we have to be conscious of, making sure that that's a consideration here as well. And then again, is that a benefit that the city is going to be offering to employees in general at other facilities?
Yeah, so. I don't think we're getting that deep yet into this. We don't even have any electrical cars that need charging right now. The utility doesn't have any. This was just something that, was brought up, everybody kind of brought up.
Right.
And it is the right time to rough these in. Now, I just want to be clear, and maybe I need an explanation, or just so Eric or Tyler. So you have the 34,000 for the rough-ins. All right, we all understand that. Now the electrical service upgrade was 55,000. That, if we're gonna rough in the charging stations, we will need to upgrade the electrical
Okay,
service to this building, correct?
thank you.
Tyler?
That was my follow-up question. Yes.
That's the assumption we're making now, Kip.
Okay, so basically, if you guys decide, yes, we want to rough in electric charging stations, we're also gonna need that $55,000 electrical service upgrade to bring that in. Now, you know, a lot of it might come into play if we still add the solar panels. You know, I don't know if I'm not an electrical guru on any of this by any means, but just so everybody was kind of clear that if you're gonna do the rough in, we are gonna need the electrical service upgrade also.
Right. And then taking that further with the solar panels, I know from a number of homes that I've sold with panels. And in fact, one selling right now, the owner of the home, a solar panel installer himself, and learned a lot about it from him. He, you know, there's about and I know this from other properties I've sold, about a 20% return on those solar panels to the bottom line of your monthly expenses. So keep that in mind that, you know, you add solar panels at 345,000, let's just say whatever it ends up being, it's not 100% return.
Right.
It doesn't take away all your costs. So just making sure that everybody understands that, you know, there's a somewhat of a benefit to them. So we have to weigh out what the return is on all of that.
Well put.
Yep.
Is there any other questions on anything? Did we miss anybody or?
Kip, I had one more question on the electric service, the actual service to the building. And I should know this, but I can't remember. With the additional building as shown right there in the presentation, the existing transformer that serves that whole building, is that big enough to serve the addition? But it's not big enough to serve the addition. And if you do EV, which? Or is it not big enough, the existing transformer not big enough? So XL's got to come in and put a larger cable in and a larger transformer?
Yeah, Scott, the investigations we've done to this point, how we're seeing it is as the building is drawn right now, the power that would be needed just for the new building itself, the current service has the capacity to handle it. When you start putting the load of EV chargers on it, that's where we think the service would need to be upgraded.
Okay, and then, all right. So, and then how many EV chargers? Is it fast charge? Is it?
That's all to be determined, I think. I think Eric maybe added that the transformer's likely fine on Excel's side, on the primary side. On the secondary side, it's probably the gear that the switch gear, the main panel, that's probably light. And there's a little more investigation to do there. And certainly, like you said, it makes a difference. Sometimes we've seen these EV chargers be half the load of the building, and it depends on what level of charger you desire, if it's a fast charger or it's somebody plugs their car in for 8 hours kind of a thing. They draw vastly different amount of load. And so there's a lot to unpack there, but usually when we see clients putting in EV chargers to an existing service, more times than not, that main panel needs to be upgraded.
Okay, so it's downstream from XL's transformer and primary.
We think so, but we haven't had those conversations with Excel yet.
Okay.
That's my gut feel, but we haven't gotten loads. The loads haven't been designed. Once we get them all designed and on a schedule, then we would work with the local Excel designer to have them confirm what is there is sufficient, or if they need to upgrade a transformer.
Okay, and then just a general rule of thumb for everybody, depends upon the type of vehicle and stuff, but charging EV costs are about 5 cents, about a nickel a mile, and gasoline at its current is about 13 cents a mile. So just to give you a rough estimate of what your cost per mile are.
Good info.
And that, Kip, in your case, you're talking half-ton pickups.
Right.
it would be your likely candidates. Anything else, trust me, we explored at Excel a $250,000 bucket truck and bought the first EV bucket truck in the industry, and it was 4 times the cost. You
Yeah.
buy one for $1 million versus $250,000.
Yeah.
So it's not for large vehicles. You're talking half-ton pickups and smaller.
Right.
In the case of the city right now, it's just not there.
Well, and
Does
that's,
that
yeah,
include
and
the-
that's where we need, that's where we, we do need to think about that. I mean, are we gonna have EV in the future? I don't know.
Yeah.
As of today, no. I'm just not a fan of the EV quite yet. But
I mean, you don't have the square footage and the acreage to put 40 EVs. You might get a half a dozen maybe someday, but
right.
to do 40 on that site, you just don't have the real estate to do that.
Right. David, did you have something? I'm sorry.
The cost that nickel, that doesn't include the infrastructure, correct?
Yeah, that's just when you're talking about your fueling costs to drive down the road.
Right.
5 cents,
Also-
a nickel a mile versus 13 cents a mile.
In the plans, it does not call for any exterior EV charging stations at the time, correct?
Correct. Yeah, the plan that you looked at is just a very, very high overview, just so everybody kind of just could see the site layout. Yeah, we haven't really gotten into where, chargers would be, where outlets would be, where hose bibs would be.
Right.
Yeah, we haven't gotten into any of that yet. That's way down the road. Like I said, today we just wanted to get everything in front of you as to where we are today. Get thoughts, get feelings, kind of, get some direction from the board. Do you want us to continue with this, or do we need to start looking at pulling things out, or are we fine with this? I guess that's kind of where we're at right now. We just don't want to keep going down the road without keeping everybody updated.
Kip, what's the timeline on this?
I don't have it on my screen. I don't know if maybe Eric can probably speak to that the best.
Yeah, so if we keep moving forward with this schematic or conceptual plan set and budget, again, there's a couple of budgeting operations we'll do over the next 4 or 5 months, but if we keep progressing and funds are available, we'd break ground in the spring when frost is out, end of April, early May, with a substantial completion around this time next year.
Thank you.
I guess both those things deserve further investigation as far as the panels go and as far as the EV charging goes. I mean, I'd be interested to know what a buyback is on those panels. And then, I mean, I would guess I would be the 34,000 for the rough-in for charging locations, is it a reasonable amount? And there's no better time to do it than right now, like we've stated. But, does the service have to be upgraded right now? Do we have to spend the additional 55,000? Or could that be addressed in the future when charging stations are put in place? So that needs to be investigated with Excel also, so that we know that.
Right, it likely could be if nothing needs to happen on the primary side, if it's just replacing a panel on the secondary side, it could happen later, and that's why we listed them as 2 separate alternates. Obviously, if Excel needs to, bore in or trench in something different and set a new transformer, then it would want to be done before that asphalt goes down. So,
Exactly.
But that's likely depending on how much you buy from them. Sometimes their work on their primary side, sometimes they make you pay for it, sometimes they don't, kind of thing. It depends how much cost they have into it compared to how much you use, kind of thing. So
I guess I'd be interested to see kind of both of those things before you talk about representing 40% of your alternate budget. But I think that's what we're asking for, right? Is if we want to continue down that road and explore those things.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. That's what we're asking.
I guess the only other question I had was on HVAC. Was that changed significantly that it went double over what was in the original budget? Was the HVAC system changed from what was original?
Yeah, I can speak to that, and Jeremy, jump in here as well. So after the last board meeting, there was a big emphasis on efficiency, right? In the original conceptual budget, we really just plugged some basic heating mechanisms. After we went back to the drawing board, this is a very, very efficient HVAC system now. We're talking air curtains at the garage doors to maintain heat in the building in the winter, and a very, very efficient rooftop unit with
Yeah, the energy recovery unit's the big one there compared to just standard unit heaters. I think you might have that as a note there, but there's an energy recovery unit there that you know is something that's not an absolute must, but
Can you explain that, what that is?
yeah, essentially what they do is, so you got vehicles in there when they run, they'll need to exhaust, you'll need to exhaust air so your CO levels don't exceed what they should be, that somebody can be safely in there, right? So
Right.
when it's 20 below out, you're dumping 70-degree air out that exhaust fan and you're bringing in 20 below degree air. That energy recovery unit recovers some of that 70-degree air before it goes out, if that makes sense.
Yep.
So there's a little bit of a cost to do that, but the heat exchanger there, so maybe when it's going out of the building, it's at 45 degrees or something, and it's recovering some of that heat to start heating some of that 20 below degree air when it's that's being replaced, being stuck in. That's, I'm not a mechanical engineer, but essentially that's kind of what it's doing. You're gaining a little bit of that heat before you dump it out.
Is there any, along those lines, and I know we're getting into the weeds here now, so apologies, but is there any call for Corivac heat where it's the radiant heat where every object in the building inside gets heated, so you don't have all that loss that you just talked of? Because I know I thought there was existing Corivac, that's a brand name, but for the type of heating in the existing bays that
Yeah.
are.
I know what you're talking about, and I think for that budget, it could be that, or it could be unit heaters. We've done both are relatively economical terminal units, right? So yeah, I can Corey back, and there's a few others, but you're right. When you bring in that hunk of steel that's 20 degrees below zero because it's been out on the road half the day or whatever, that's a lot of mass if you're filling up those parking spots, and sometimes having that heat right over top of that, those big hunks of steel that you're parking in there is helpful. So
Yeah.
that we haven't gotten all the details, but that number would cover that type of a system for sure.
Okay.
All right, anything else? Anybody? All right, if there's no other, so I guess what's the consensus of the board? Just keep moving forward, or what do you want to do?
I think we should keep on moving forward, and I think that it's really important to continue with having modifications for electric vehicles and for solar panels
Okay.
as we go, because those are important trends that we need to be paying attention to.
Sure. All right, everybody agree on that?
Yeah, I'd say this, Scott, I'd say you keep pursuing this and fine tuning and get more of the details. The devil's always in the details, but
Right.
The only thing that caught my attention was the solar at 346. And now listening to everybody, it sounds like that's a pretty high level stab at it to start. But there's a lot more investigation, if you will, or due diligence that would have to be to exactly what would that be.
Right.
Structurally, it sounds like the roof will take it irregardless, but then it's just a matter of what type of system you would actually budget for, and whether you keep the power on site into a battery system of your own, or whether you put excess back out on the grid. And then you got to
Right.
work with Excel to come up with what that program is.
Yep.
Kip,
right,
when
well,
you're
I guess
asking about moving forward, you're saying that they're going to continue to dive deeper into each one of these items and fine tune it. Is that where we're
yes.
at?
Yep,
Okay.
yep, they'll just keep moving. Well, maybe let's, if Eric and Tyler, maybe just, if you could just give a quick on what are the next steps moving forward, that'd be great, maybe.
Yeah, I
So
can,
architecture.
or go ahead.
ahead,
You
Eric.
can go.
So architecturally, we would start with design development. So we're gonna do more structural. Civil's gonna do their work. We need to submit to the city for development application and approval with the planning commission and city council. So that involves all of the site work and our schematic design for the building. Structural will dive into their engineering more, and we'll just keep refining the details. So as we're doing that, then at the end of design development, Market and Johnson will do another pricing exercise to make sure we're on track. And then we continue with construction documentation, which is really the bidding and permitting documents that would then be the final drawings to do bidding and state approval.
Is this all part of the $190,000? Is that what we're talking about right now?
That's correct. Yep.
And then actually the 220 total, probably, I assume.
Yeah, right. So there's some of those review fees, reimbursables, and then geotechnical. All of that would be the design fees to get you all the way through a project that's built next year.
So between now and next month, let's say, if somebody decided they wanted to continue this conversation next month, where would it be at?
Our next steps architecturally would be to do civil based on this site concept and building plan, and to start engineering the building itself. So it's on that end of things, it's really to progress, the project in that way. The other things we're talking about is really, can we start investigating solar and the electrical side of things? That's something we'll be doing with Market and Johnson's mechanical, electrical, plumbing design team, and they can start investigating some of those things and refining what that really looks like. Then they share that information with us. So structural is designing the building to support that, and we can flesh out some of those things. But from a building standpoint, as long as we like the site and the building, we can progress. We want to progress with design development drawings and construction documents, get in front of the city and get approval from planning commission and city council to do this project on this site in the way we're proposing it. And while that's happening, we can investigate the solar and electrical things, which can happen, and in this building either way. So.
Yeah, I might just add, Tyler, maybe just so the board members are understanding. I would say the lion's share of the design probably happens in the next 60 days. I'm gonna say, Tyler, where they're gonna really start spending most of that $190,000. We haven't spent any on construction, and they've probably only done some preliminary design, but at this stage of the game, I think it's important to be comfortable with the overall numbers, knowing that there's some details to work out there. But essentially 5.1 before alternates, and then almost another $1 million if you took all the alternates. If that is way off of what you're willing to spend, then Tyler's designing the wrong size building, right? So it is a good time to. You're going to start spending significant design dollars in the next month to 45 days. So it's a good time to either be comfortable or not comfortable with those numbers.
Right.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
All right. So with that said, is everybody comfortable with these numbers? Is anybody uncomfortable?
Yeah, Kip, I will reach out to you within the next few days to set up a meeting.
Okay.
We've got questions, and I think there's opportunities here to get some of these numbers down.
Sure. Yeah, and again, I just want to reiterate again that this is estimates. Now that can go either way. We've seen it go either way. So, but yeah, I'm always in, David. You know that.
Thank you.
What was the original proposed budget for this edition?
Wasn't it 4 to 5, depending on what we were gonna do?
Yeah, conceptual budget, at least the scheme that we reviewed last 2 months ago was 4.2 million to 5.9. So that 5.9 that you're seeing there is the high end budget number for scheme.
Right.
So let's try and push for that lower number. It's a big building.
Kip, as far as payment, following up on David's question earlier, is this money existing in both budgets right now for sewer and water?
It's existing in our capital, yes.
So what you're really asking, Susie, is will there be rate increases to pay for this? Is that what you're asking?
Thank you, yes.
The answer is no.
Okay.
I'm not
That's
saying we're not
important.
gonna have a rate case in a year or two, but
Can we also talk about the maintenance of this building, the heating costs, the electrical costs of this building as well?
Right, yes.
Mhm.
do we have any way of getting that, Eric, or anything?
Yeah, as we engage our MEP design builders, I think that's a valid question to ask them. They can give us ranges of anticipated heating and electrical costs on what that would do to your.
Okay,
I'm gonna assume it's gonna be cool too.
I'm sorry, say that again.
I'm gonna assume it's gonna be cool too. Will it have the HVAC system?
No, just the offices.
Okay,
Yeah, no, we won't be cooling that entire building, no. All right, any other questions? Otherwise, if there's no objection, we'll just have the guys just continue to move forward on everything. We'll dive deeper into them charging stations. We'll dive deeper into them solar panels. David, just give me a call or stop in the office or whatever. We can, and again, there's things in here. I mean, pressure washing equipment. Do we really need, there's things that can come out of here. Again, this is just a high level, kind of where we're at. But there's things that we can probably massage, let's put it that way. So,
perfect. Thank you.
all right, anything else for everybody on here? Otherwise, we will move on to, I don't think I need. Yeah, I did say action on updated drawings and pricing on utility storage projects. So maybe let's just do a vote, Joyce, if you would, on just moving this project forward with, just getting more numbers,
Okay.
diving a little deeper into it. I don't know, however you want to put it.
Do I have a motion to move the project forward and to continue getting numbers?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that as long as no additional dollars are spent.
Okay, any more discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
All right, thanks,
All
everybody.
right, thank you.
Thanks all you
Thanks,
guys for
everyone.
joining on. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, we'll go on to 3.2, action on Deer Path Water Tower Rehabilitation 2025.
Give me 1 second here, if you would, please. All right, so let me just pull it up here. It's a little easier for me to look. All right. So in here, we've gotten a ballpark number. We knew it was going to be right around that 700,000 to do that water tower, the Deer Path reconditioning up in the village. In here, we just kind of put what is actually going to be happening up there. It's just not as simple as, just painting and away we go. With that tank up there, we are going to have a temporary tank up there, which is going to supply us, the pressures that we need and different things like that. There is a two-year warranty. We do need to add a drain valve to that tower. The vent is not frost free, so we do need to change out the vent on that. The existing handrail is not large enough to accommodate the new vent. So we are going to be putting up a bigger handrail up there. And the advantage of that is also that, you know, we have all the telecommunications that are up there. It gives them a little bit more room, and possibly, you know, there's possibly going to be room up there for future contracts that we might have with the carriers. There's a riser pipe that we can't really assess yet, just to see what's going on with that. So there's some pit repair and welding on that tank that needs to be done. And then a couple of the alternates that we had, furnish and install a generator. It's a natural gas generator. It's not a very big generator at this point. I believe we were looking, if I find it in here, it wasn't much. We were looking at about 23,000 for a generator. It's just going to be a small one. And the reason that we need that is that actually that tower is a big part of our communications for our SCADA system. So when the power goes out, our whole SCADA system goes down and we can't actually do anything up there. So basically what we're looking at, the estimated cost in that total construction is $798,595. So like I said before, they already are moving forward on getting some of the AT&T, T-Mobile, you know, some of the carriers are already moving off of that tower in anticipation of this happening. So we just kind of wanted to get that budget number in front of you, just so you guys can see what's all going to be happening up there, and just kind of if there's any questions on it or anything like that. So did anybody have any questions on that?
Nope.
Okay, so I guess we can just do a quick action on that just to move forward with the Deer Path Water Tower rehab, just so we have it on record.
Okay, so do
I'll
I have
make
a
a
motion
motion.
then to move forward with this?
So moved.
Thanks, David.
Second.
Thanks, Susie. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, number 4, project updates and project status report. So utility projects update.
right. So you got the report in there. They finished up painting the hydrants. We did approximately 125 hydrants up in the village of North Hudson this year. So those got sandblasted, primed, and then repainted with the factory paint coming right from the factory. So they're pretty much just like brand new. The Deer Path Tower rehabilitation is scheduled for spring. We're continuing to through removal of communications. It includes sandblasting, priming, recoating, some hatch upgrades, new top rail, generator, roof venting, some pit repair, welding. And then we talked about the building, the utility building addition to on there. So that's pretty much just my update for
Kip,
you and for council.
Weird question, Kip. What does it cost to sandblast, prime, and repaint one hydrant?
About $135 or $40.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and that's sandblasting it right down to bare metal. Then they repaint it with the hydrant primer right from the factory, and then hydrant, and then the paint right from the. So it's just like it came off the production line when they're done.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, they do a fantastic job too. Excellent job. So that's all I had on the update.
Any other questions about the update? All right, number 5, other business for informational purposes only or for an upcoming agenda?
I did not have anything unless anybody had anything on there or that they wanted to add.
Anybody?
I have just one question, Joyce. Kip, any progress update on where we're at with Village of North Hudson and the water?
I've got a meeting with our attorney and our financial people tomorrow. As a matter of
Perfect.
fact. So
Okay.
we will be talking about some stuff that is on the docket. And once we talk through some of that stuff, then I'll be reaching out to the village to probably sit down with their representatives up there.
Yeah, and I meant to call Gina today, but I forgot all about it.
Yeah, so well, and our attorney had been out on vacation for over a month or something, so she's back now. So yeah, we are meeting tomorrow.
Perfect. Okay,
discuss.
thank you.
Yep.
Okay, number 6, sewer utility and water utility cash reports.
Cash reports are in your. I don't know why that yellow is all there. It's kind of different, but you don't have to really pay attention to the yellow. But yeah, cash reports are in.
Anybody
can
have
see
any
what's-
questions about them?
See what's there.
Okay, number 7, discussion and possible action on claims.
And claims are in there.
Do I have a motion to accept the claims?
So moved.
Thanks, David.
I'll second.
Thank you, Thomas. Any questions about them? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And last one is adjournment.
So moved.
I'll second.
Second,
Thanks, Susie. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. We stand adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.